Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Behind the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, doing the most. Let's keep this real and keep it dope. This is your boy, CEO.
Aw, that was cute. Look at that. New intro. What's up? It's your girl Alexia. And we have two guests with us today. Our good friends. Well, one of them.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Gonna make them fight to fight.
Because I know she ain't talking about me.
We got another beef in here.
That's right, y'all. We're joined by our two regulars, Raheem Nelson
Speaking of beef,
and
I'm
Tyler
not
Smith.
fasting anymore, so I'm here for it all.
Pause.
Yeah, we got to start this over. We're off to a bad start.
That was a big pause.
That's usually how they are when you join these. Every time.
Oh my God.
You guys need a minute or what? What's going on
No,
here?
it's funny because that's, oh man.
Fucked up. All right, guys. So we're just gonna get straight into this. I got a lot of people asking me. I'm sure we all experienced it. We all just re-listened to all the fucking songs from this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. So for those of you tuning in who have heard about it but don't know the details, I'm gonna give you the details right now, the play-by-play of what happened. So this way you're not lost when we continue the conversation to give our takes on this. So.
Also, say what day it is now so they know where we are on the timeline.
That's right. Today is May 7th. All right. So, as of this recording, there have been no more diss songs dropped as of, May 5th. So, if anything drops during this recording before we record this, just know this is when we recorded it. Anyway.
That would just be our luck.
Yeah.
Behind the struggle.
That'd be
Seriously.
crazy.
I mean, look, and we apologize.
Check,
We apologize for getting to this
online
so
real
late
quick,
because
just in case.
we were going to initially react when Kendrick dropped Euphoria, but life was lifing. We got busy, and then Friday Kendrick
they
dropped.
kept dropping shit.
Yeah, and then 6 more records came out. So we're gonna talk all about all of them in one fell swoop. So, anyways,
Honestly, the timing's kind of good because if we had done something before and then another record came out like afterward, like we'd be behind the 8 ball.
yeah,
so to
we'd be
speak.
playing catch up.
Yeah.
All right, so if you guys will bear with me for a second, this is the dates of the whole beef culminating to what has happened. So, on November 15th, 2023, Drake and J. Cole released a music video for a song called First Person Shooter. On this song, J. Cole says in his verse, "I love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot, is it RB, or me? We the big three like we started the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali." Song went number 1. It was J. Cole's first number 1 single, music video, blah, 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 right? 4 months later, Future and Metro Boomin put out a song featuring Kendrick Lamar that nobody knew about. The song is called Like That. On this song, Kendrick sends shots at Drake and J. Cole for First Person Shooter, and here are some of the highlights from this verse. "Fuck sneak dissing, first person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches. Motherfuck the big 3, it's just big me. I'm really like that, and your best work is a light pack. Prince outlived Mike Jack. For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K-Wood all these nines, he gon' see Pet Cemetery," which is a direct shot at Drake's last album titled For All the Dogs. On April 5th, J. Cole drops an album, and the last track on this album is a diss to Kendrick. It's called 7 Minute Drill. 2 days later, on April 7th, J. Cole apologizes for 7 Minute Drill. He basically says the diss doesn't sit right with him because he's cool with both Drake and Cole, so he bowed out. The internet started to clown him and make memes and said Cole could no longer be considered in the big 3 because he got tested and he backed out. Fans also started saying they can't take some of his lyrics serious anymore, etc. And at this point, now all eyes were on Drake to respond to Kendrick. They've been sending subliminal shots at each other throughout the years, but since Kendrick's verse on Like That, it was very direct who he was going at. In the midst of this beef, other people started taking sides and sending shots at Drake with Rick Ross, The Weeknd, A$AP Rocky. It's like almost like the Avengers formed to come and take out Drake. On April 12th,
He said the Avengers.
on April 12th, J. Cole deletes 7 Minute Drill from all streaming services. The day after that, Drake's diss song Push Ups leaks on the internet. The internet goes crazy. People praise the diss track. Some question if it's really Drake or an AI. People are not sure. On the record, Drake disses Rick Ross, Future, Metro Boomin, Kendrick Lamar, and The Weeknd. He pretty much calls Kendrick short, says how he has to give 50% of his split to Top Dog from all his projects, how he had to do records with Taylor Swift and Maroon 5 to have some crossover appeal, and how Drake never had to do any of that to gain more fame. He flips the Michael Jackson and Prince narrative, saying, "What's a prince to a king? He's his son." I be with some bodyguards like Whitney, which is a reference to Whitney Houston's movie The Bodyguard, but also a jab at Kendrick's wife, Whitney, because there were rumors going around that J-Rock, who was also Kendrick's label mate, slept with Kendrick's girlfriend, Whitney, and people used to say J-Rock was Kendrick's bodyguard. On April 19th, the song Push-Ups is officially released on all streaming platforms, and on that same day, Drake drops a second diss track titled Tailor Made Freestyle, trying to pressure Kendrick to respond quicker by using AI. He used AI to make his voice sound like Tupac and Snoop Dogg to talk to Kendrick. Days later, the Tupac estate threatened to sue Drake for using Tupac's likeness without their consent, so he had to take down the song and delete it. 11 days later, Kendrick drops Euphoria on April 30th, which is a Tuesday. In this song, Kendrick talks about all the things he hates about Drake, the women he dates, and says that he's not the only one who feels this way, but the whole culture of hip-hop feels this way about him. He says how he doesn't like when Drake tries to act tough, says he doesn't have any classic albums, also that he's had liposurgery to get his abs. He doesn't like Drake when he says the N-word, and insinuates that Drake sent a cease and desist letter for the Like That record to have that taken down, and that he's basically a deadbeat father. Then he tells Drake to not try and take this any further because it will get ugly. And goddamn.
The threats.
3 days later, Kendrick drops a second song, which is titled 616 in LA, and he drops it in the morning. The title of the record is a jab at Drake's Timestamp Records, but also 616 is a reference to Tupac's birthday, Canadian Father's Day, and the beginning of the O.J. Simpson trial. And the single art for this record was a black glove. On this record...
Yo, what?
Yes. On this record,
Layers.
Kendrick makes claims that Drake has a mole in his camp of OVO who's feeding him information on Drake to him, and that he should actually be mindful of the people around him because some of them want to see his downfall. Also, how Drake put money out to get info on Kendrick, but couldn't get anything because he lives a boring life. Later that day, Friday night, this is where hip-hop history was made, Drake drops Family Matters. On this song, Drake makes claims that Kendrick Lamar's general manager Dave Free and co-owner of their record label, PG Lang, is the real father of Kendrick's son. Also that Kendrick beats his girlfriend, cheats on her with white women, and who is he to say he cannot say the N-word when his girlfriend is mixed, and how Kendrick actually wants to be white. The song was also accompanied by a music video where Drake has the minivan that was on the album cover of Kendrick's debut album, Good Kid, Mad City, and he destroys it. In a plot twist of events, an hour later, Kendrick Lamar drops Meet the Grams. In this song, Kendrick speaks directly to Drake's entire family, including his son Adonis, and reveals that Drake has an alleged daughter who's 11 years old, whose life he's absent from. The people on Drake's payroll are sex offenders, and how Drake's mansion is going to be raided soon, just like they did with Diddy's mansion. And how the world would be a better place for young girls if Drake died because he's a predator. The very
That's
next...
wild.
Super crazy. The very next day, Kendrick drops another diss track called Not Like Us. In less than 24 hours, a song that basically accused Drake's team of criminal behavior, running an underground sex trafficking ring, and doubled down on accusing Drake of being a pedophile. The single art cover for this song was a picture of Drake's mansion taken from the sex offender app showing 13 sexual offenders on the property. That was Saturday. On Sunday, Drake drops The Heart Part 6. In this song, and what seems to be the last song in this beef, Drake denied the allegations that Lamar had thrown against him, while also claiming that he and his team had fooled Kendrick's camp into thinking Drake had another child by feeding him the information. Drake also referenced Kendrick's song off Mr. Around the Big Steppers, Mother I Sober, where Kendrick opened up about the history of sexual and physical abuse in his family and claimed that this is the reason Kendrick is so obsessed with this angle of pedophilia because of post-traumatic stress disorder. That is everything to this point. I hope y'all are up to speed as us. That was a lot. So now,
CEO has a diss track coming out soon.
that's right.
To settle it once and
That's
for
it.
all.
I'm the judge, the mediator. So, with that said, I'm going to go to my panel. I want to go to Alexia first because Alexia just heard all the songs. We just woke her up out of cryo state, so she basically missed this whole thing. Yeah. So, Alexia, after
I'm
hearing
alive.
everything, who do you think won this battle, Alexia?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It was a lot, to take in, and it's exhausting. And honestly, besides like the rappers or the rap names, any other name that they were throwing back and forth, I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? I guess from like a petty standpoint, because Drake is petty and so am I. It's like Drake's had the last word, so it's kind of like, okay, what now? But now I'm like, wait a minute, how much of this is actually true? Like, because now it's more than just, oh, he schooled you, oh, A minor, oh, like, it's really like, wait a minute, like,
A minor.
it's really like, wait a minute, is Drake an actual pedophile on the list? Because I think I remember a rumor of that, but is, okay, Tyler.
Raheem in the back. Yes.
That wasn't me.
Oh, I'm looking over here. Anyway, and then is Kendrick a wife beater? Like, and now I'm like invested in this crap instead of their craft, and I'm like mad because I'm like, this is not what rap is. Like, and this is again like what, like black on black crime. Like, you guys, like, be friends.
Black on colonizer crime.
All right,
That
well,
was crazy too.
all right, so Raheem, what do you think? Who do you think won this battle?
Easily Kendrick.
Go into it.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you why. I gotta go into it. So, for one, let's move backwards. Let's look at the Heart Part 6, right? You got a Drake that sounds defeated. You got a Drake that is basically telling on himself, bringing up things like Epstein and I knew you were going to take that angle. Like, why did you know he was going to take that angle? Are you actually a pedophile? Like, you saw this coming? And then, like, if you're planning all this information, where's the proof? Like, why didn't you put out proof to refute this daughter that you planted, like, right away? Like, make it the album art or the single art or whatever. Just refute Kendrick's, all the fire that, he was accumulating and putting out these songs. But instead, you're just going to hop on Instagram and be petty and put out more songs saying, oh, we planted this, we planted that. So let's look at this, though. If he really did plant information that he has an 11-year-old and it's not true, like, what kind of artist does that make him? What kind of person does that make him? He's essentially saying, like, well, I'm a deadbeat dad, but I'm not quite as a deadbeat dad as you would think. Ha ha, I got you. That's number one. And then number two, there are actually a lot of testimonials, a lot of news articles, videos on Drake grooming women. Like, this fact. Like, I've got one YouTube video I found that pretty much is a collection of the articles that I've been looking up. There are 6 major accounts of Drake grooming women, including Billie Eilish, including Millie Bobby Brown. And the fact that he is bringing up Millie Bobby Brown
Unprompted.
on Heart Part 6. Unprompted, exactly. Kendrick did not say anything about her. And I'm watching the video, and I'll give you the name of the YouTube channel if you check it out.
Oh,
Wow.
Stranger Things.
I got bars.
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 The ice cream man, I got bars.
But for real, though, there's an entire video called Surviving Drake. Kid you not. It's by a YouTuber by the name of D. Chanel. and she just goes into all these different accounts of just the fact that Drake has been grooming women for a while. So real quick, I'm just going to give you a quick account of what I was able to find. So 6 times Drake has allegedly groomed young girls, and I know
My man came with the
so I'll
receipts.
just read it off real quick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I had to come
My
with the
man's an
receipts.
Drake said, "Show me the
investigator.
proof." Raheem's like, Kendrick over here.
Hey, if Drake's not going to come up with the proof, I'll come up with the proof.
Yo, Alexia killing
Number
me.
1,
Right here, I got your proof, Kendrick.
I got your proof.
Wait a second, Buster.
Yep.
Just activated my
Number
trap card.
1, pretty much. May 17th, 2010, Drake performed at the Ogden Theater in Denver. Girl comes on stage. He's hugging on her, kissing on her, blah, 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 and then asks her how old she is. She says 17. Instead of backing up and everything, he kind of continues like, "Oh, damn, like you're thick for 17. I'm not trying to go to jail." I'm like, wow, like it's on
Yo,
you.
Alexia can't breathe, yo. Hold on.
I remember this. Wait.
Great.
I remember.
So
Like, had a crazy
I don't know how
flashback.
old the girl is now. Yeah, but she came out in defense of Drake, saying, "Oh well, it's fine, this, that, and the third," and it's like, you don't realize that you're being groomed, and that really was not okay.
Yes,
that this person
stupid.
is doing that. Like, so there's a lot more. Like Kylie Jenner, he's known her since like she was 15, grooming her for a while. You know, I think they were romantically linked at some point. Kanye actually calling this out of all people. Bella Harris, whoever is I forget her name, but
Alexia.
Haley Bieber, who had a different last name at the time, grooming her, grooming Bella Harris. Like I said, known her since like she was 16. Georgia Smith. So Georgia Smith was like 19, but it's still kind of sketchy, still growing into her womanhood, still becoming a young adult.
Yeah, because a lot of women
She
look
kind of
younger.
curved. Right. She kind of curved him, and then he made a whole song about it, supposedly. Like his song from Scorpion, called Jaded, is apparently about Georgia Smith. And there are some references in there about her, like, not quite being where he wanted her to be.
Ew, yo.
Which is just like
rappers stay telling
weird.
on themselves.
Yeah, but there's like a lot more. Like the Billie Eilish thing is weird too, because she posted something saying 18 tomorrow, and then there's a post from Drake saying, "I've been waiting." That's all I'm saying.
Rap snitches telling all
I
their
think
business.
Kendrick is on to
Rap
something.
snitches telling all the business. Going to store.
was
in
about
the
to sing
video,
that.
with this.
Shout out
perpetrator.
MF Doom,
Yeah, he's right
R.I.P.
there.
the GOAT.
Yo.
Shout out Mr.
So
Fantastic.
he has to be on some list, and if he's not, hide
Hide
your
your
kids.
wife.
Wait, I'm glad you
I
said
sure
that
did.
too, because not only did you spark a memory, but also, what was it? His second response after Kendrick? Don't ask me to name them because you know me. Okay.
Family
when-
matters.
I don't know. When Kendrick was like, "Oh, all you do is fuck bitches and you fuck women that aren't women," right? I was like, "Oh." And then Drake's response was like, "Yeah, I fuck women that you can't even get," and it's like that is not a flex. Like,
I don't think you heard it
but
correctly.
he thinks
well,
it
that's
is.
not exactly
though.
what
He
he
thinks
said,
it
but he
is.
was like, "Yeah, he's like, I fucked a lot of bitches." It's like, shut up. Like, you look even dumber. Like,
You fucking puppies.
He is a 7-year-old.
Yeah, I think the line was like, "What do you mean? I fuck? I went black and white and everything that's in between." It's like, okay.
okay,
like,
thank you. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
that. Like, he's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
good
I
for
fuck
you.
hoes," and Kendrick's like, "That's the point, stupid."
Thank you for proving my point.
And then here's the thing, too. On Heart Part 6, he's accusing Kendrick of not doing his research and everything. But Drake is not doing his research because his facts aren't lining up. And for Mother I Sober, the narrative is false. It's like a surface. It's not even an accurate description of what happened. He's saying Kendrick got molested, and he's clowning him for that, which is fucked up anyway. If he was molested, like, who are you to say this, that, and the third? Like, all right. But it's about generational trauma. It's about his mother projecting her stuff onto him and him denying it. And
Are
then
you
if you
saying
also
that
want to
that's
talk
not true?
about the allegations of Kendrick and the domestic abuse, Kendrick had a whole album where he was taking himself to task, and he's always done that, really. And just like a therapeutic kind of album, So he's owning up to the fact that, hey, I'm hypocritical for this, this, and this. I've caused pain in my own family. So like that's like he's holding himself accountable for the things that he's done. And I think that's really why he hasn't engaged in these allegations like Drake is doing. Because Drake is not coming out and really refuting that he's into Millie Bobby Brown. He's done this and he's done that in the third. He's grooming women. And he's trying to like kind of switch the narrative. Like I was watching a lot of videos about him being like a gaslighter and a master manipulator. And like this is what he does. And like this is really the main reason that I don't rock with him because like he's like a child. Like he's a child that has this
37
spot
but
in the
still
upper
7.
echelons of hip hop. Yeah, and like and you're grooming women on top of that. Like, nah, man. Like this battle's over.
Raheem, before Tyler goes, I just wanted because you brought up a point that I definitely agree with. Because when Drake brings up when he's like mother oh wait, isn't that song when you said you got molested? He's like, oh, I'm making the whole connection. He's like, now I see why this is the angle that you stuck with or whatever. And for me, this was like a huge chink in his armor because literally in the beginning of the song, Drake literally clowns Kendrick Lamar by saying, "Oh, we fed you the information about me having a daughter, and you were so desperate that you didn't even fact check it. That like you just took it and ran with it and ran to the studio and made a song. And then later on in that very same song where you say that, you make the very same mistake because it's very clear.
You're right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
clear on that song that Kendrick is not talking about him being molested. It's about his family and stuff being molested and him constantly being questioned about it and him having to deny it. But it's like this generational trauma that's been passed down. So
Yeah, and wait.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tyler. But like if that were true, let's say like Drake is actually right about that, now you're shaming people for speaking their truth. So now what do you want rap to be? Just like a surface level, fuck bitches get money? Like you want it to stay there and like only club music? So I think
part.
that's a huge part.
No, that part, 100%. And the other thing
That
that made him look stupid was where he says that you got your information from clowns. And then 3 bars later, it's like, we fed you the information. And I'm like, so are you
My
guys?
clowns!
Yeah, so I'm like, are you guys
You got
the
that
clowns?
from my clowns!
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like you are not doing yourself any favors. But I just wanted to bring up because you brought up that. So
That's how I feel like
Yeah.
he wrote it because, the ghostwriters needed to take a day off, and I get it. They're working really hard.
That's
Really hard. So he clearly wrote that one himself.
all right,
That's crazy.
Tyler, what about you? Who do you think won?
Don't ask me no dumb question like that again.
Who do you think won?
Kendrick, obviously, quote unquote, won. Clearly, is just as songs. The production was better for Kendrick. I think if you take any, if you take like the meanness scale or the truth scale out of it, just the way it was presented, I think Kendrick was more interesting. Just like as a song. I think I give Kendrick 8 out of 10 for being better.
You have a
Now,
point for
before-
that too, because there was one song where Drake used like words that were more than one syllable long. The other ones were literally all like that. But there was one where he like stepped it up, and I was like, oh, it's trying to like match.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He graduated.
It wasn't 10 to 0. I give like 8 to 2. But first off, real quick, shout out J. Cole. That's a smart man. That's everyone
For
go
pulling
comment.
out. Pause.
Yes.
Oh,
His
wait,
pulling
why you had
in
to get all
strong.
close to say that?
Now, he's a smart man. He said, listen. Life is short. I got to protect my peace. And he was correct because Drake's in it now. The Ottoman Empire fell. Rome fell. I think Drake's going to fall. I think this is it. But maybe not. I think because clearly Kendrick won. Like, unless
There
you're...
also is a point, right? Like, it's not that whoever got the last word. It's like, well, when is this going to end? How are we going to take a step back?
Especially because the last word was Drake saying, "I don't even know if I want to do this anymore." And he was like, he's kind of trying to end it. Now, as far as the war goes, Drake fans are going to be Drake fans. People don't really care about many things intellectual. Is
Kendrick
this
said
gonna hurt
that,
him?
too.
Yeah, and this is all stuff that we know. But in our day-to-day lives, we're all busy. We all got work. We're gonna listen to Drake. We're not gonna, I think, so like maybe the war Drake will win, right? But I think there's three things. One, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot at stake because they're both so accomplished in different ways. And so early on, I was kind of annoyed about the beef. I'm like, it's whatever. Now it seems a little bit different, and I think that something that we've all known, we've all said, it's Drake. He's a hit maker. He's really talented. He's there's some Drake haters who go too far, and it's like he's
my brother.
He's a hit, like especially like Drake can spit sometimes. Ghostwriters or not, like his rapping capabilities, like he's good. He sounds good on a record, blah, blah, blah. The main thing to take away is, I think, just exposing the... Not even code switching, but being cognizant of his acting white and like his little accent that he's had for like the last 6 or 7 years. Like, where'd that come from? It's like, he's definitely playing the part. What's the, I forgot how the line goes in Euphoria. But he's talking about Tommy Hilfiger, and then he says, but you weren't repping FUBU, and like that, I think that sums up 85% of Drake's argument, or Drake's of Kendrick's argument, or his perspective, which is, bro, you're corny. Like don't even, like, we don't want you saying this word. We don't want, like, the receipts are, it's all because you're the biggest. We can all see from every angle, like, you're fake, you're corny. Like, don't come here with that.
Didn't I say that on the first time where we were trying to react to, like, this beef in the beginning meeting? I was like, is it possible that there's just not a lot of negative news or news at all on Kendrick? So it's,
you did say that. Yeah. It's definitely easier to, at least on paper, it's easier to get shots in at Kendrick or at Drake because he is so big, especially after that video pause. But it's I think that if it's just rough because Drake he's just been backpedaling. I think it's clear from any standpoint that in terms of who's winning the battle, who won the battle, it's clearly Kendrick. And I think the question now becomes, what do we do next? How does this affect the rap / hip hop landscape? How does this affect their sales? How does this affect music as a whole? Because Kendrick is the most prolific artist out, give or take, and Drake is the biggest. So, like, okay, so we've had all this yelling. What happens next? There's a video of Vince Staples. I should have had my receipts, but he's asked about it, and his response is he talks for like a minute and a half about the imbalances of streaming services and artists and the unfair system that is, and how that's more important than these two grown men arguing, which is another thing to keep in mind. And I think if you're answering the question, who won? Kendrick, obviously. The question is, what happens next, and how does this affect everything else? How does this trickle down? And what's CEO gonna say? He's been real quiet.
Just wanted to let the room speak. All right, so I guess I'm gonna have the controversial take here. Cause
what?
Get him in the comments.
What?
Come at me, bruh. I think the person who really won this battle was J. Cole. My man came out unscathed.
Boy, I just said that.
No one touched him. I mean,
she gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the real winner.
You know who told J. Cole?
Schoolboy Q.
Supposedly it was Schoolboy Q.
Yeah, because he was at Dreamville Fest.
So that's a real friend
they told him,
right there.
He's like, yo, there's a runaway locomotive. You might want to get the fuck out the way, my nigga. Like,
yeah. You gotta check your friends sometimes.
Yeah. Like,
sure.
look, like, this train ain't stopping. All you can do is get off the tracks. No pun intended. that aside, for me, Jesus. So there's a bunch of things. I think in the eyes of the public opinion, as far as like, I think Kendrick had the better strategy when releasing the music. Like Drake dropped his song "Family Matters" Friday night, an hour later Kendrick dropped his. So it kind of like just like killed the momentum. It had no possibility to grow. And then the very next day he dropped another song which was like a club banger, basically like a pedophile anthem, like, which is kind of crazy, right? So he does this. So I think as far as like the releases, yeah, he beat him. Like in public opinion, just on strategy on how he put the stuff out. But if it does not come out that Drake has an 11-year-old daughter that's like that doesn't exist, that Meet the Grams, that third verse loses like all weight. It has no credibility. That shock value is gone. And I feel like he kind of did what Pusha T already did. He just extended it for 6 minutes. You know, like, it's the first verse, he's talking to his son, saying how, like, yo, I should be your mentor because your father ain't shit. When the second verse, he's talking to his parents and basically saying, oh, he's a, master manipulator. He keeps repeating these
You're
phrases.
raised a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, like, people like him should die. Him and Epstein should be put in jail and whipped for the rest of their lives. Like, he says stuff like this. And then at the end, he kind of just doubles down on this. So for me, and Raheem, I'm telling you right now, if I ever go to court, I'm going to have you as my witness, because my man had the receipts, he had the dates, everything. But I know, and look, I am not a Drake fan. Like, I'm not like, oh, Drake's my dude. Like, of the three, Cole's my favorite. Like, I prefer him, but I also like Kendrick more than Drake. That being said, none of these women have come out or said anything negative. Now, I'm not trying to say, oh, because they ain't say, because, obviously he's a master manipulator, right? So there's a sense of reasonable doubt. But, where there's smoke, there's fire. But a lot of these women, they've been asked, and they said only nothing but good things about Drake. That he's a good guy. Like, no claim has come out. And to also put out that, oh, he has basically a sex trafficking ring, an underground sex trafficking ring at his mansion. My nigga, if that is true, why do you not tell the authorities instead of put that on a diss record? Call the cops.
That's not what he's saying though. He was saying like a lot of rappers and athletes, they have people who just kind of like bring the girls over. It's it's all consensual because it's like, oh my god, it's Drake, I'll do whatever.
Of course, yeah.
Right. It's a whole
It's definitely manipulation, but it's not like an actual.
Yeah.
Well, but my point to it, and I agree with you, but I think in the eyes of the public, right, that's what it is. Like, that's how they
Fuck
see
the
it.
public.
Because I think just today I saw there was an article where one of the OVO stores got vandalized in London, and they spray painted on the window, "They Not Like Us." The song that Kendrick is dissing Drake about, that's the name of that song, where it's like, oh, like, and he
Okay,
probably
but
took a
those are
score
the
in A
fans
minor.
now.
Yeah, but my point is, when you start doing stuff like this, it's going to, like, affect. And if you're making accusations that are not true, then at that point, it's like, that takes away the weight from it for me. Because at that point, you could say whatever. I could be like, oh, Raheem likes to suck toes. What's that mean?
I think that's crazy. I think
Okay.
I can make crazy accusations like CEOs are good at rapping.
Well, before.
All right. Let's look at it
Hold
this
on,
way,
hold on.
though.
Let me
If
just
we're
finish this
looking-
last part. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry. So there's that. So I think he had the better strategy. Drake had a rebuttal for everything. Like, a lot of the allegations that Kendrick beat his wife or whatever. And like I said, I'm playing middleman right now. He never really addressed it. He kind of just like, nah, I'm not going to even talk about that. I'm just going to go at you, Drake. And then the last thing that I want to say is, and I know we all know this, Alexia, you said this several times. I think overall, people just want to see Drake fail. They just want to see him lose. That there's like a level of hate there. And how I saw this battle was kind of like the gatekeeper versus the culture vulture. Like, Kendrick is trying to protect the culture, and he's basically saying that Drake is a culture vulture. He's not of the culture. So I think in the court of public opinion and strategy, Kendrick won. But I think as far as like the battle, it's a tie because they both came out scathed. One guy, you got to question if he beats his wife and if his general manager is actually the father of his child. And the other dude, you got to wonder if he's a pedophile and is hiding a daughter and is doing all these crazy things with minors. And, like, either way, no one is coming out of this, like, looking great. So that's my
Yeah,
take.
but the strongest leg Drake had to stand on at the end.
Yeah, well, I was going to say something crazy.
Shut up. Is that when he was like, yo, you know, I brought you out, like, you know, your fans want to hear from you, so I made you make more songs, like, you're welcome. I was like, hold up.
Oh, you also reminded me of something. And Raheem,
Drake's a bitch.
Raheem, maybe you could check the dates on this for me, and I want you to say your piece. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. But in 2011, Drake brought Kendrick on tour with him. And he also gave him a song on his album, an interlude, Take Care. And then I think the following year, he did a song with Drake on Good Kid, Mad City, Poetic Justice.
Poetic Justice.
Yeah, so Drake basically put Kendrick on, in a sense, took him on, gave him the exposure. So my point to this is also, and let me know if the dates line up, how old Drake is in 2011, 2012. If he's doing all this pedophile kind of shit, why were you rocking with him then? Why was it cool then when you benefited from it? But now 9 years later, you want to call him out. Now you want to be like, nah, I got to save these women.
Nah, I don't.
I'm just saying the optics of it. That's it.
I don't know if those dates line up.
All right.
But hold on.
I
Number
think
one, you're missing a lot.
Maybe
here.
he
Let Raheem
didn't
go.
know. Number two, think about how long it took to get R. Kelly, to get Diddy, who's still on the run. Kendrick is not perfect. Because
It's true.
He dropped that album, and then all these allegations stuff
Can't
came out.
stop,
So
won't stop.
I think Diddy kind of know his time was up. Just saying. But let's look at it this way: Kendrick is not a perfect person. It's clear, even just going off of his music, that he has made mistakes and he has made some things. He has done some things that he is not proud of. I gotta rock with Kendrick because not only because of his music, because I feel like he is really being accountable for like his f ups. Where I look at Drake and I look at the stuff that he's accused of. I look at the proof that I've actually been able to find. I look at how he's moving in this industry. Like, look at all the people that are going at Drake. At all the people that, like, Drake is where he is, but like he has actually, you know, gone to Atlanta and linked up with certain artists to get to a certain place where he is now. And somebody said online, it's like kind of like cosplay, where Drake will play the black card, so to speak, when it benefits him.
Agreed.
And, you know, it's like I do kind of want to see Drake fail. Like, it's not like a hatred thing or anything like that. It's just I don't like the way dude moves. I don't like the way dude moves as like a father, as a son, as a brother. Like, me being all those things and seeing an artist that like seemingly doesn't have integrity, like it's hard to rock with that. And in terms of the allegations, like say like he doesn't have a sex trafficking ring or whatever, and Kendrick was alluding to certain things or whatever. Like, at best, Kendrick has damaged this person's persona. Because Drake's running around like he's invincible, like nobody can stop him. So at the very least, it's like that scene from 300 where Leonidas is, you know, making the god bleed. That's why I feel like it's come out of this situation. Like, Drake is going to be okay. But at the end of the day, like, there are still people rocking to this song that Kendrick put out in the club saying that this dude's a pedophile. So at the very least, Drake's pettiness, it's like his ego is not going to allow for this. He knows he can't out-rap him. He knows his ghostwriters can't out-rap him. So at the end of the day, like, it's going to be a lot of damage control on Drake's part and on Drake's camp because of all the allegations, all that stuff. And I truly believe, like, if he is actually a pedophile, this stuff is going to come to light. It might take a few years, because if he's really acting all nice with these young women and everything, they may feel like they're pressured not to say anything.
If it does, too,
But
the internet's
people have
going
been
to
caught
explode.
for less.
Oh, big time.
I think it's
With
going to happen,
Kendrick's
like,
diss
for real.
tracks, like, explode.
It doesn't seem like he's making this stuff up. Like, I feel like it has to come from
No,
somewhere.
I agree with
think-
those points. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tyler.
I think the part you're missing, that even if, like you were saying, the third verse is invalid, I think even if some of the things Kendrick is saying is not true. In there's still like one, Drake keeps saying, "Well, we gave him this information." I was like, "All right, well, like, nigga, okay, so if for all the years you've known me, I've just worn an eye patch every time I see you. You would think I only had one eye. If I just took it off one day and had two eyes, you'd be like, what? How's that? You know, like what you put out, and like also before any of this happened, the general vibe was that Drake is creepy with minor. Like that's always been that's been a thing for years.
Agreed. Yeah, I've heard that.
And so regardless of if Kendrick's right or not, he's talking about. He's like, I'm talking about you and your image and how you carry yourself, which aligns with his whole Tommy Hilfiger, FUBU, culture, Drake. You know, I think it all aligns. Whether everything he says is true or not, doesn't invalidate anything what he's saying. Now, to your other point, you briefly said, well, does that mean we can just say anything? And it's like, well, yeah, you can. You can say anything. I mean, that's always been the case. You can say anything. I don't know, like, in normal, everyday rap songs, people are lying or exaggerating or, like, you know, this is par for the course, you know? So I don't know that if it turns out that Drake's a Boy Scout, anything really changes. Because in the context of a quote-unquote rap battle, especially in this modern age, I think Drake doesn't have a leg to stand on. Lastly, he was just kind of his last response. He didn't really attack at all. It was all defense.
Agreed, 100%.
You know, you can't win a sporting event if you don't score a point. You know, so it's like
that's a good point. I mean, except for when he was like, "I gave you some content. You're welcome." That was the only thing.
And is that an attack or is that?
No,
truth,
it's not an attack at all, but I mean,
you know, it's
wasn't there a thing where even you guys were like, Kendrick was silent for 5 years or whatever, and he came out with that album, and you were like, oh, it was great, and the last one was too, and like, there's nothing against him, but you're like, yeah, like, he's so great, we want more, so in a sense, it's not, I guess, like a flex, but not really an attack.
But this is not necessarily what we want, when we're talking those terms, it's not what we want from Kendrick, you know? We want him to give us an album every 3 to 5 years because every time he does it, it's a piece of art. You know, we don't.
Right.
You know, they're polar opposite artists, right?
That's
like,
also why the
Drake,
11 Days wasn't that crazy to me. When you got.
Yeah, I was like, y'all.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
Y'all don't have work to do this week.
Yeah.
Like 11 days goes quick. Like,
yeah, seriously, seriously. Like, because when they were dropping back to back to back, that was exhausting. I was like,
I'm busy. I got shit.
Yeah, I was like, bro, wait, what? I was like, I just finished listening to this song. Now this one dropped, and I can't even comprehend everything. Then you gotta do investigative research. I was like, bro, like, I think when Jay-Z and Nas battled each other, I think when Jay-Z and Nas battled each other, there was like a 9-month difference from when Takeover dropped and then Ether came out.
That's enough for Drake to have a couple babies.
That was back when, you know, you would call a landline and be like, hi, is CEO available to speak on the phone?
Ain't nobody calling him. Lastly, what I want to say is, I think I lost it now. We were just saying. I think Drake with his last response, he was getting emotional.
Oh, big time.
Which
I thought he was emotional before that.
I think, but like in a calculated way, in a like he was evoking emotion. And maybe his deliveries were emotional, but I think, pardon the pun, he was in his feelings. And I think that, you know, it's just in everyday life, if you're arguing with someone and they get red in the face and they start, you know, like usually that's a sign that they've lost or they're unable to handle or process what's happening right now, and they lash out. And this felt similar to that, except for lashing out, he was... I didn't do it. That's dumb. I would be in jail. The things that like everyone's like R. Kelly has said that. Bill had I done these things, surely I would have. It's like you're like, if it's true or not, you looking sus right now. No one even mentioned any of these people names. You're doing a lot.
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't know. Drake didn't win the battle. Again, the war, quote unquote, the landscape of what happened 6 months from now, 2 years from now. Who's to say? I'm sure everyone will be fine for the most part. But in terms of this, you know, these 3 weeks or whatever it was, I think it's clear
I
that
just feel like
Drake
his
lost.
little fans may outnumber, not out intellect Kendrick's fans, but outnumber them.
And that's how it always is, and which is fine. You can like whoever you want to like. Your favorite rap can be whoever. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be snobby just because I like MF Doom and Kendrick. Like, that's not. That's.
Unless he's a certified pedophile.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Just
that
saying.
that
Listen,
that
but
line.
then, but
Is
then,
he?
but then, even then, you're allowed like live your life. You can still be a fan of R. Kelly's music in theory. But what I'm saying is, none of that. Like, there's like in terms of this beef, like none
Like
of
it
that
wasn't a
is
landslide.
relevant.
Drake is still like actually a talented artist, but it wasn't like
I think it was a landslide, but I also think
Okay.
Drake is talented, and his fans shouldn't necessarily like. People were saying I can't listen to J. Cole the same again after he took down his song. Go fuck yourself. like you are so important. I can't listen. This goes against my like.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
Like who you want to like, like. You can like Kendrick and Taylor Swift. Like, you don't. I can't listen to Taylor Swift. She was at the Super Bowl, and I'm upset. And like, people
Yeah,
care about the wrong things. Either you like the artist or not.
yeah. No,
And that doesn't mean that you have to like who they are or back them up in every situation. But you should be able to, root for your team. But at the end of the day, facts are facts. Like.
yeah.
People had their minds made up way before this even started.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But hopefully you're the kind of person who is going in as unbiased as you can. No one's unbiased, but as unbiased as you can, and you're willing to hear and change your positions. But Kendrick wins. Come on. Now.
All right. Well, I want to ask this question to Raheem because I know you have to, do your thing in a little bit. So, Raheem, in your opinion, do you feel, and this goes for everybody, Raheem, you're gonna answer first though. Do you think this battle went too far?
Yeah, I think it did. I expected it to because these are both two artists that, I mean, Drake is definitely petty, but I'll say Kendrick is petty as well, and he's openly admitted it on different songs. So it's just a game of like them continuing to one up each other, and it's hip hop, and in hip hop, there's a lot of stuff that goes below the belt. Biggie, Tupac, Jay-Z, Nas. Like there's always a point where it usually goes too far in beef. And in terms of like looking at what comes next, I think Drake's legacy may be tarnished in a way, and if somebody comes out, that's going to be a real problem for him. But I think it's going to be business as usual. It's the TikTok generation. People dance in the club over the song and everything, and like it's funny, and it's Drake is being petty about it, and he's kind of admitting defeat in this last track. But I think that's pretty much his way of saying like, drop all the tracks you want to drop. I'm out of this. I got to go back to doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, like, Drake is a gaslighter because like he's been sneak dissing. He did this and that and the third. So he knows he doesn't have any more room to breathe, so to speak, where he can drop something that's kind of gonna deter people from how they feel already. And there are people still saying that Drake won, which is crazy to me, but it is what it is. Like, if you're a Drake fan, you're a Drake fan. Like, I don't agree with it, but that's the way it is. But for me, when he dropped the dance track, like, as a response, and people were, like, quoting the lyrics in the club, it's like he out-Draked Drake. Because when he was going at Meek Mill, and everybody was like, oh, Meek Mill's going to take Drake out, and then Drake put out back to back, and that was playing in the club, and like they still play that in the club too. Like that's like the brilliant part of the strategy. Like he dropped all these tracks, and then people were saying like, oh well, nobody can dance to your tracks in the club or whatever. Like it's fine as it is. And he was like, nah, like we're doing it this style. And people were like crip walking to the diss track, and it's on TikTok. I'm like, you can't be serious. So like the battle was over before them. It's like just kind of like icing on the cake. So he really just wanted to make the god bleed, so to speak.
Okay. Alexa, what do you think? Do you think this battle went too far based on what you heard?
I mean, it's kind of like they could have had this argument over text, or like they could talk, like we were watching like a reality show live of them talking shit to each other. So like the real loser is like us. Like we're out here like, ooh, what did he say? Oh no, he said that. Oh shit, like oh, like at a cookout, like oh, and then what you gonna do about that? Like it's, I don't know. It was just kind of like too much. Back to the high school drama of like rap beef. Like it's it's fun, I guess, and like the songs I think were good, but yeah, it was kind of like dragging it out. So it's really like they're probably making money off of every song they drop. They're probably, obviously promoting themselves and making their name more famous, and that's great. And I'm not saying that it was a con or whatever to push their stuff. I don't think this was that, but like it kind of ends up that way because now we're talking what over six songs total just for this beef. And we're in a day and age where technology is even faster, AI is coming out, blah blah blah. So instead of like a 9-month release, which you mentioned before, now we're doing it like by the hour. And it's like in the moment it's like, wow, history, cool, but I don't know, in 10 years it might be talked about, but it's not going to have this effect. And that's to be expected. But again, I think it's more like we're not us, but like society was like getting a little hyper obsessed with like the drama. And like Tyler even said before, like we have things to do. I can't be on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. like, oh, there's another thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, and I just heard them, as you mentioned, like today. So I had things to do too. Like I can't just be here like, oh, what did Drake say? Oh my gosh, is that true? Like, but I'm a
Yeah.
little invested. But I'm also like, now I'm like talking out loud. I'm like, why? Like, why do I care? Like I'm over here like I literally have other things to do. Like, who cares? But they're entertaining, and I don't really regret the existence of any of them. Like it's like, oh shit. But I mean, yeah, I guess it did go too far. But I'm not. I don't think if we had one less song, any of the six, I mean, this conversation might be completely different. So
Hmm. Tyler, what about you?
Um, I don't know. The question is, did they go too far?
Yeah.
I don't know that they went too far, like lyrically or quantity of songs. I don't know, or content of the songs. I guess everything's on the table. Um, I think, especially, I think everything's on the table as a default. I think especially Drake's songs sounded like Drake songs. Kendrick's songs sounded like Kendrick songs, and so neither of them went outside of their realm to do this. It's very much within their
Wheelhouse.
quote unquote brand. Wheelhouse, exactly. And I think so I don't think they went overboard there. Um yeah, I think, it's a double edged sword where it's like, does this matter? And it's like, well, does anything matter? Like, does that football game matter? No, but it's the Super Bowl. It's like, all right, like if you don't care, you don't care, But it's a Super Bowl. You have to, or not, So I think that's with most things, and I think it's the same here. Again, I think I don't know if overboard is the right word. I think again the most interesting part of this is what happens next to to sponsors for musicians and music videos and streaming services, and like how does the influx of so much traffic has been driven to these streaming services. How do they respond now? Does quote unquote rap beefs become more of a thing now because it's lucrative? Like those are all the things I think about.
Agreed.
In terms of, again, I'm like a broken record. In terms of who won, I think it's, if you take it point by point, Kendrick clearly won. J. Cole was smart. Drake was doing okay, and then he fumbled.
Big time.
But none of it really, it's whatever.
I think for me, I think it went too far for two reasons. One, like they both really went to hell on each other, like together. They were just like, fuck it, we're gonna go all the way. We're going all the way. We're airing out all the shit, our personal life and whatnot. I mean, because even when you look back at the last big battle, which is Jay-Z and Nas, a lot of it didn't get like personal like that. And when it did, that's when the whole battle stopped. Like I think there was a story when Jay-Z dropped Super Ugly. Jay-Z's mom literally called him and said, "You need to apologize to Nas for that record." Like I raised you better than that. And then the beef stopped, and that's when people were kind of like unanimous, like, okay, Nas won. In this battle, I think they went too far because for me personally, like the women in their lives and the children became collateral damage. Like literally think about it, like Kendrick's wife
But
or
that's what
girlfriend got
happens in
dragged.
rap battles.
Yeah, but to me it's just kind of unfortunate. Like it's like
No, yeah, I'm not saying that. Yay, but like that's what happens, you know.
like woohoo.
This just in: Alexia hates all women and children.
Oh my god!
Newsflash.
You heard it here
I only
first.
cry when animals die.
That was a bar.
Just kidding. That was a reference to The Last of Us. Check out my YouTube.
That's crazy. We over here talking about the fate of hip hop culture and African American culture, and she over here talking about YouTube. That's crazy.
Behind
Get her in
the
the comments,
struggle.
everyone. She's Tommy Hilfiger. She ain't FUBU.
That's right. But yeah, so that was, for me that was the case, just because like the children got bought into it, like Adonis, like his parents, and then even Kendrick's family. Like he even references that Kendrick on a couple of the records where he says like, you know, he's like, when you try to go at good people will come up to bat. You know, he's like, you're trying to like downplay these decent human beings who are living their life. Kendrick even says like, you know, this is supposed to be like a friendly sparring exposition, and then you started mentioning my family's name, so now we're going to the next level. You know, like we're going to the seven gates of hell in a sense. And you know, like I said before, with the last battle, there was like months between. This we literally got a whole album within like a month, 11 tracks between them both. It's crazy.
And this is why I think
11?
they haven't gone too far, because I think there's precedent for it. Like in your Jay-Z example, sure, like that's back in the day. Everything's fucked these days,
Yeah,
you know?
true.
So it's like there's, you know, everything's out the window. It's 2024. And so and there's also precedent. Like people have talked about each other's children in rap songs in the last 4 years, you know, relatively frequently. I think and a lot of people don't understand what hip hop is, and a lot of people confuse what rap is at its core. But for the general 2024 census, if you're having a rap beef and you are battling not face to face but via songs, it's almost a subsection of what's happening. It's like this is the dark section of rap, you know? And so for me, it's like, you know, you have to be 18 years or older. Sorry, Drake. You have to be 18 years or older to
Damn.
that was crazy.
That was wild.
to go to this section of the rap and listen, you know? I think that just because, and like these two aren't the first to use women as not objects, but like as talking points, or like not to consider them fully, or even if they are considering them fully, the nature of the medium, it's like I have to talk about these things and they have to rhyme. And so how else do I get them in the booth and have them say it themselves? It's like, you know, I have to talk about XYZ. And if you're going to go in depth and be more specific, I can't just say tell your son that you suck. It has to be more specific. You have to use the names. And lastly, this is what I was saying last time when there's only a couple songs out, that everything is very much about references now. And the more references you have, the better perception, or it's perceived that the song is better,
or deeper, has more levels to it,
or deeper, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's for better or worse. That's a part of it. I know Adonis. I know that name, and just saying that name doesn't just finish the bar. It invokes, you know, this is the biggest artist, has a secret son, and it invokes that whole story in your brain in a second. And it's kind of like thematically painting and putting you where you have to be emotionally for the bars to resonate. And so I think it's, if you're doing a surface level, hey, you suck, no, you suck, sure, it's not necessary. But if, you know, they're getting into very complex things, right? emotions, traumas, and etc. And so that requires more specific and more in-depth rhyming.
I agree with that. I guess for myself as a battle rapper who's been in battles and battled other people and I've made diss tracks.
I could beat him. Yo, he trash.
I think for me is that I don't know, like when I battle somebody or like when I challenge other people, it's really at the end of the day at the core for me to test myself, like my own skill, to see if like I can improve and be better. So it's like kind of like steel sharpens steel, that old saying, right? And when I'm looking at this, as far as like this battle, I'm putting myself in those shoes, and I'm just kind of like, what is the outcome that they hope to gain from this? Because Kendrick said a lot of times that I want to be the best. Like the crown is heavy. Like I fuck the big three. It's just big me. And to me, it's just like, is that really that important? That like you're willing to go there and the people in your life are going to be compromised and all these other things. I don't know. To me, it's just like after a while, it's just kind of like a phone conversation couldn't happen. You guys gonna talk on the side, or and I get it.
This is what I was saying last time. Is like it does seem the whole thing seems unnecessary.
Yeah, and look, I know Drake has been sending subs the whole time, right? Like he's been sending subliminals throughout the years. He's petty like that. But to sound like they're strangers, these guys, like they all know each other. Like I would have just, like Cole knows him. He's the middleman. He's the middle between both. Literally, like yo, let me hit up Drake's line. Let me talk to him. What's going on?
I think it's because it's bigger than them, right? It's on one hand, people we used to always call Kendrick the savior of rap, and then on his most recent album, he kept saying, "I'm not your savior. I'm not your savior," and I think because he truly is a zeitgeist of, I think the second half of Gen X and all of millennials, maybe a little bit of Gen Z. He's definitely a zeitgeist of that age group, and he's definitely a zeitgeist of Black America. He's definitely a zeitgeist of just modern times. I think he struggles with, here's a guy who thinks he's untouchable, but he's doing all this shady shit and it's working for him. And I think he's struggling with that and his role in like he said, I think he said something like, it's not just me, it's the whole culture, or whatever, however you phrased it.
So it's not just me. I'm with the culture feeling.
Yeah. And so I think he feels this artistic pressure to push the button and, think of, but then, so think of To Pimp a Butterfly, right? And then think of Mr. Morale, where culturally he's saying all these things, but he's also not afraid to self-reflect and say, how am I, the black man, the rapper, a part of the problem, a part of the solution, just human, et cetera, et cetera. So I think when you see someone like Drake, who's the opposite, and he's still at the top, and he seems to be unfazed, and he's just always going up with Drake, with almost no hiccups. I think he feels, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, But again, is it necessary? No. Could they have talked in the? Yeah, but I think in their mind it's bigger, and like whether that's just their ego or not, in their mind it's bigger. They both represent more than just themselves.
That makes sense. And it's like, it started here, so it's got to finish here. So it's not like they're going to, I don't know, do the big three and have that little drama and then like, oh, let's take it to text message. Like, it's private. But it still was kind of like an annoying, like, we're all watching this one, like, high school fight. Like,
Especially people, every day people don't know how to express themselves necessarily. These guys express themselves through their music at the highest form. So like there's layers to it.
Yeah, but
did it go too far? I mean, that's
also to Alexia's point.
For some people, yes. For me, no.
Well, also to Alexia's point, right? It's like I hear what you're saying. It's like, okay, like, oh, we're gonna do this whole thing with the big three, and like, all right, we're gonna finish this in text message. But the reverse of that is also a lot of the stuff, like, because Drake wasn't only just dissing Kendrick, like, there was other people, like Future and all these other guys, that girls that they supposedly slept with, they all slept with the same girl or whatever. So it's like they had these personal relationships that happened in real life that none of us were there for. We don't hang out in the circles they hang out with. We don't go to the parties they fuck the people they fuck.
Maybe not you.
But but my point is, they have these personal issues that happen between them in their personal lives. And then they air it out on wax. And then us, the audience, and stuff like, wait, who is he talking about? oh, you gotta start doing some research. Oh, this girl's the girl that was in this video that fucked so and so, and it's just like, why should I care? Like, why did you have to make me a part of this and put it on a hit record?
Yeah, exactly. Like, did you enjoy like over explaining everything to me, even like as me?
You know, I didn't mind it because I just felt like, you know, I owed a due diligence to the people who are out of the loop. You know, I don't want to talk about something and not come with the correct facts. But
Okay, but what if you had to explain that every time to everyone you spoke to? You know?
I just referred them to the podcast. Make sure y'all subscribe. Like,
That's a bar. You know what it
yeah,
is.
you know what it is, baby. So
I think.
Set that
yeah,
up
I mean,
real
sure.
nice.
I think, sure, but I think, you know, that's not unique to this situation. I think that's most of rap,
agree.
most of the
Yeah.
time, and so this is par for the course. It's just this time, it was really angry and really personal and really direct.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, this was hip hop
Whereas-
history in the making. Like, let's just call it what it is.
For
Like,
sure.
I had my dad. I had
Yeah.
people who don't care
So
about
maybe
rap.
that was the point.
I guess so. Maybe that might have been the point. You know, you're right. I mean, because hip hop is so much bigger than what it was 20 years ago when we had the last big battle. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. This was definitely history in the making, and maybe that's kind of like Achilles. You know, like leaving their legacy, like their name will live on beyond them because of this. So, at the end of the day, there really is no loser.
So how mad would you guys be if, like, in a couple months, Kendrick and Drake were like on a song together, and they were like, "Psych, we friends. It's all good now."
Well,
I think-
real quick, Tyler. You want to actually something that's funny? That what I heard that supposedly the song "First Person Shooter" was supposed to be all three of them, Drake, Cole, and Kendrick, and Kendrick declined it because of all the sneak dissing going on between him and Drake. So he was kind of like, oh, like, I'm not gonna get on the record with y'all if especially if we still have some shit that we gotta air out between each other.
I think if, like, you know, early August they're on a song together, I think at that point it's disrespectful because everyone's playing the game to some extent, and we as the audience, we're playing our part as well. But there needs to be some level of authenticity, and not that you need to get every fact correct, but I think everything that Kendrick's music has meant and stood for, and everything that Drake says would be the contrary to that. And so it would just be unfortunate. I think it would discredit not only them, but that would ripple out and discredit a lot of other people. And there would have to be something in between where they quote unquote squash the beef, and then even then their missions aren't aligned.
Yeah.
And so
They occupy different spaces.
You know, if Jay-Z and Nas make a song together and they ask Kendrick and Drake to be on it, that's a hard thing to say no to. You know, it's like, God damn.
That'd be crazy.
So
That'd be wild.
I can that would that'd be bad. So I can see a world where that's happening, but to say, "Oh, guys, we're just kidding," I think it's irresponsible. It's, you know, it's like you know, artists can do whatever they want, but there's some responsibility. If I'm a filmmaker, right? So if I'm making a documentary and it's just full of lies and it's painting these people in a bad light, and then I'm like, oh, I was just fucking around. It's like, well, you can't do that. If I'm a newscaster and I'm making bullshit up,
That's not right, Tyler.
that's not right. Come on, man. You know,
Do you have
if
11-year-old
I'm a
daughter?
newscaster and I'm making up a. Listen, I heard CEO might have a. ...
Yeah,
Finish that sentence in the comments. What does CEO have that's 11 years old?
Pause.
That's crazy because my internet connection just stopped.
You look crazy.
And
I was about to screenshot.
I don't know if my internet connection is broken or what, but I think Drake has me bugged. We might have to end this podcast soon. I don't know what happened.
All right, so I want to end with this last question.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah, all right.
Hello.
I just want to end with this last question, and both of you can answer this to the best of your ability. Tyler, I'm gonna defer to you first because you seem pretty well versed in this. where does all this hate for Drake come from? I know we talked about, yeah, a
Drake.
lot of things, but for me, it's just like, I don't know, like we heard Raheem talk about it. My brother fucking hates Drake. Les literally said he does not have a single good song. And now look,
Which is
a crazy
ridiculous.
thing to say.
That's the dumbest
Yeah,
thing I've
yeah,
ever
and
heard.
look, I'm not the biggest Drake fan. Like I said, people who listen to this podcast, y'all know my favorite rapper of all time is Nas. I like Eminem. I like Jay. And of these big three, J. Cole's my guy, and then it's Kendrick, and then I like Drake. Like I when I hear his music, I'm not like, ugh, turn that shit off. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. I know this guy. Like, and I could admit he's got some bars. Like, he's definitely got some talent. And I guess I'm just maybe I'm
He's
out of the loop,
Instagram quotable.
as Alexia always says. And for me, it's just maybe I'm out of the loop
Write
on
my
it.
curses in cursive.
Maybe I'm out of the loop on it because I'm not that big of a Drake fan. But where does all the hate come from? Is it because he's so famous that like people are jealous? Like, what is it? Go ahead, Alexia.
No, you said Tyler go first.
Oh,
You literally said that.
I thought you were gonna say something. You were like,
I was just being like a annoying Asian, but yes, I do have something to say. Go ahead,
Wow.
Tyler.
hey,
That's crazy.
Oh, wow, she said that about herself. All right.
Um, I think it's several things. One, it's like people hate on the Beatles because they're the greatest band, because they're the biggest, and it's like the Beatles suck. It's like the Beatles don't suck. Like, what are you talking about? And
Okay,
there's some
Emmanuel.
of that with
What are you
Drake.
talking about?
What are you talking about? Shout out Emmanuel. wherever
Shout
he
out,
is.
Emmanuel.
He-
Hope you're listening.
I think he ghost wrote Drake's last song. That's why I was a little shaky.
That makes sense.
But there's some of that where it's like, oh, Drake wins again, or Drake's number one again. Oh, I don't like him. There's some of that for sure. But I think a lot of it, especially now when there's, if you just listen to the radio, I feel sorry for you. You have to put an effort to find good music, but there's so much good music out there, all different genres. And I think it's when you have, and it's similar to like I was saying earlier with Taylor Swift. Like, is she the greatest? No. Is she fine? Yeah, she has some hits. She's talented. She has some good albums. But like, I think people get upset when mediocrity, or even just decently good, is championed as the best of the best. Number one. Number two, I think people, and Eminem would get some flack for this too. I think people don't appreciate Drake's success with white people and internationally outside of the U.S. And which on paper, get over yourself. But in Drake's case, there is this code switching. There is this. He's acting this way. He's putting on accents. He's feeding into that more. Which is why Kendrick kept saying, "You just want to be accepted," and I think that's the bigger thing. At least in 2024, I think for his first bunch of years, it was just like, "Oh, who is this guy? Oh, he's so big. He's not that good." I can name 10 better rappers, sure, but I think nowadays it's that mixed with the culture, the authenticity, your morals, what lane do you want to be in? And not that he can't make a song like Passion Fruit. That's one of my favorite Drake songs. That's a great song. But Drake doesn't rap anymore. Drake just sing. It's like Drake is pop. Just like Yasin Bey was saying. Drake is pop. And that's okay. But because people don't really understand what hip hop is, and by extension what rap is, they don't know where to place certain people. And they think rap is a monolith, and if you don't fit XYZ, then you can't be a part of it. You think of when Tyler the Creator was upset that Igor won Best Rap Album, and he's like, I'm rapping on it, but it's not really a rap album.
Yeah.
And so there's all these other extraneous elements that feed into it. It's like, where do you place Drake? Drake is not the best rapper, but he sells the most. He sold more than Michael Jackson. It's like, all right, well, we have streaming now. Drake's the best rapper. He's always number one. All right, but that's because his music fits this demographic and what they want, which again is fine. And I think people just want their hero, their favorite, whoever, to get their due, and to them it feels like there's not enough room for that. which I don't think a lot of their arguments are valid, but I think those are the two things. So in summation, I think one, because he's really big, and then two, because he kind of flip flops and plays the game, and he's rewarded for it.
Mm.
And then three, I think within the industry, like you said earlier, a lot, like 20 people came at him. Like, wasn't there a thing where when Lil Wayne was in jail, he fucked his girl or whatever? Like, there's like, and Lil Wayne gave us Drake, you know? So it's like, I think within
dirty.
the industry,
Yeah, some conniving shit.
Within the industry, there's the sneak dissing, there's his behavior, and in in the modern world, your image, at least in the public sense, your image is almost just as important as your art, and so there you have it.
Yeah.
And now that Kanye is kind of on the outs, Drake is following suit. And I think the main thing is people will overlook stuff as long as they're getting something out of you. Think of R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Once R. Kelly stopped making music like that, he's gone. Once Kanye's album started to plateau, he's gone. Now Drake's music is kind of getting too samey, even for the average listener. Things are shaking up. Once the audience isn't receiving what they want from you, now they'll turn on you, for better or for worse.
Valid points. Go ahead, Alexia.
I think one of the biggest reasons people are hating on Drake is like a jealousy thing. They don't want, like, he's like so successful that it's kind of like, give someone else, a bread roll. Like, you've been eating for too long, like whatever. And then the two sort of tree branches off of that are the same thing, but like a little bit less substantial. I think, when it came out or whatever that he was Canadian. Now I think we're more susceptible to, like, I don't want to say foreign, that sounds crazy, but like other, cultures, like having success in America. But back then it was like, oh, he's not even American, he's Canadian. He's a Canadian being a #1 seller in America. Like, back then it was a big deal. So I think that there's a little bit of residue from that. And then also this sort of like, child star story where he was in Degrassi. So like people, used to make fun of him being the kid in the wheelchair, and now he's a rapper and like success story, whatever. But like, it's kind of like Ariana Grande was the same, right? She was an actress and what was it, Victoria? I don't know because I never watched it. And now she's a singer. But the Nick kids, like Lizzie McGuire, like back in the day, like Ashley Tisdale, like they were all child stars, whatever. And then they sort of went from acting to singing, and then they kind of dropped. The only child stars, like from the Mickey Mouse Club, are, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. Those are the ones that were singers and stuck around for a while. But like this sort of, you start as an actor, actress, and now you're a singer. That career is supposed to die down, and Drake's hasn't. So it's kind of like what? And then the last thing, which I think is a little bit more substantial than the other two, but still less than the jealousy over success, is that like he's just like a manho, and he never grew up. Like, when you first are a rapper, you rap about sex, bitches, and money, and like it's cool, and then a decade later you're still doing that shit. It's like maybe his lifestyle or his personality, that's what it is, but it's kind of like, are you gonna grow? Are you gonna do anything other than fuck bitches? Like, and talk about how many girls break your heart? Like I told you even earlier, that rumor, I don't know if it's true, about how many women he wanted to or did ask for their hand in marriage, and he wears the rings around his neck or whatever, like the engagement rings that were not not given because he was never engaged or whatever. Like, that's pathetic, bro. That's not cute. Like, that's not a story. So it's like, what was he, 37 now or whatever, 38, whatever, 37. So it's kind of like, yeah, how long are you gonna play this role where you're like, oh, I make club songs, like that's great, and like you're making money, and I'm happy for you, but when are we gonna have like a little bit of depth? And he does have good songs, and I'm not saying he's a great writer. I'm just saying like the mentality behind it. It's not that I think he's a horrible artist. I think he's extremely talented, but it's, I guess, off camera, if you will. Like you're still at strip clubs at 37, like. Throwing sacks. Like, what? Like, you're not embarrassed? I don't know. I think that's a part of it, though.
No, you brought up some very good
And
points because I completely forgot about the Degrassi thing and the Canadian thing also plays a factor because it's almost like an outsider came into American culture and kind of like became the biggest star of it. And maybe Tyler, you can chronicleize this for me or explain this to me because this always confused me and I guess I just never understood it. Because when Drake came out, it was around the same time as Nicki Minaj, and I remember on Drake's first debut album, I think, which was what called "Thank Me Later." Like,
I think so.
yeah, he has that song with Jay Z, and I'm just like, yo, who is this guy that he already has a song with Jay Z on his first album as a feature, and then to kind of like see how like much of a megastar, I'm just like, man, this guy really knows how to play the game. That's all that came to my head. I'm like, how did he do
That's what
this?
it is. He plays the game really well, but it was also at a time where Lil Wayne's at the top. It's the same where like how did Eminem get so big? It's like all right, well, so a couple people put him on, and it's the same thing here. I think it just presents itself different every 10 years, and when Drake was coming out, it presented itself with a feature from Jay Z, you know,
Yeah,
versus Dr. Dre doing your whole album for Eminem, right? But yeah, in terms of like, yeah, there's parts of, and like rock and roll is black music. The Beatles were number one. They came here, British invasion. There's precedent for this for other countries, other cultures coming through, and I think the thing that's unique about most rap slash hip hop is that the songs are very self-referential in a cultural sense, and you can make a rock song 1,000 different ways, and you can too with to an extent, but with rap and hip hop. But the topics are almost always talking about things that if you're a Native American, especially I'm from New York, it seems very much our thing. Now, these days hip hop, in Japan and in Sudan and
yeah,
everywhere in France, there's great artists everywhere. There's something universal about it, but there's definitely you a lot of people have to buy into the culture, and then it becomes part of them, and it's an offshoot, and it's legitimate. But there is a buy-in moment. It's not innate unless you're from the places where it came from, right? Unless you're a descendant of those people. There is a certain time, like if that's a whole long story, but if like jazz is coming back. I almost went on a huge tangent. Jazz is coming back in a little bit, and in the jazz scene, there's been some non-black artists being touted as the saviors of jazz, and the beef there has been, well, they can't be the saviors of jazz because they're not black, and jazz is a black thing. And so across all genres, there's these issues of your culture versus my culture versus where the music comes from. And I think in hip hop focuses on that so much because hip hop is a culture by definition, and jazz and rock, etc., are genres of music. And so there's this built-in gatekeeping that is somewhat valid. But in terms of specifically him being from Canada and being on a on Degrassi, and then getting his Jay Z feature, etc. He wasn't an industry plant, I don't think. I think that's just the way it went, and because his music is so digestible, it keeps going. He can play the game better than most people, and he's willing to go there, and so he'll pivot wherever. When in 2013 Daft Punk releases his Random Access Memories, and it's got a lot of disco and funk. I think I said this on a different podcast. And then in the next years, Beyonce, Kanye West have more of an 80s disco-y feel to some of their songs. They followed that trend. It served them well for 2 albums. Drake's ahead of the curve with a lot of that, and it feels like he's pushing the culture, but I think he's just the first to, him and his team are the first to latch onto whatever and then jump ship and go there and talk about it. And again, his music is easily digestible, and so I think those are the reasons why he's on top. I don't know that it's necessarily not fair, just kind of how it went. And I think, as I said earlier, people get frustrated by that, but it kind of just is what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because I guess it's just to me. I mean, you explained that very well. It's just crazy because he's such a big artist that he's even bigger than all the guys that hip hop fans would admire, like a Jay-Z, Nas, Wayne. Like these guys are arguably like better rappers, right? Eminem, and it's like he's bigger than all of them, like right now.
He plays the game. Do we remember Drake when I remember because I'm African American, Cuban Irish. I went to a very white
You're
high
Irish?
school.
Her eyes were like
Yeah, that was crazy. My mom's half Cuban, half Irish.
half human.
And so half Cuban.
Oh, what they said half human. I was like, that was a wild thing to say. All right.
That's crazy. Mother eye. So I went to where was I going with this? Oh, I went to a predominantly white high school up in North Westchester, New York, and the second Drake mentioned the word aventura, and he decided that he was gonna be bachata and a little bit Spanish, they ate that shit up, and now every white person wanted to be Spanish for like a good couple of years. And I remember me and some of the other oh my god, I'm stuttering. Me and some of the other minorities there were kind of looking like y'all good? Like what's going on? And he plays it well. Like that served him well for a while, and he was kind of like talking with a bit of a Spanish accent sometimes, and now he has this black accent where he's talking very West Indian sometimes, and he kind of just jumps ship. He plays the game the best, which is frustrating for quote unquote real artists, but that's the game. So I think
True.
the audacity
that's a
of
skill as well.
is oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think the audacity is him saying I'm the greatest, and like really believing it himself. It's like, because everyone else in the industry is like, nigga, we know what you're doing, we just don't want to do that, or we're not capable because it's difficult, whatever it is. But it's like we see behind the scenes, like
Right.
This is not you. So so if you're gonna come correct, then we're I'm here, and I think that's where Kendrick's at. He was at a breaking point.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy to me because like he has as many number ones or more number ones than Michael Jackson, so it just kind of baffles me. But in closing,
you got streaming now.
Yeah, true. But in closing, we're all in agreement that Kendrick won. All right, and for the people that hear this podcast, don't come at me in the comments. I was literally just playing devil's advocate. Like I said,
come at me.
Like I
want all the smoke.
I'm more of a Cole fan. I like Kendrick and Drake as well. So for me, I was just questioning stuff. Kind of seeing where it was gonna go and just looking at it as a spectator. I really have no dog in this fight. I think it would have been a boring podcast if I was like, I agree with everything everyone's saying. Wipe them. It's just someone's got to question it, right? So that's kind of the role I played. But y'all let us know in the comments below what you think, who you think won this battle. Did it go too far? Let us know. Is this going to be in history? Will people be talking about this years to come? I think so, but it was tiring.
Thank you guys so much for clicking that play button again. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube, Behind the Struggle, and follow me on the gram and TikTok at Asexia.
And you can find me and all my links at thisisceo.com. And Tyler, put your plugs in there so people can see your films.
You can follow me at Drake's 9th Ghostwriter. Oh shit! Wait.
Damn it, we've been exposed.
Oh shit! Go cut that.
Struggle.
Cut that.
Stop! Your internet's gonna go again.
Oh.
I'm a filmmaker out of Westchester, New York, at Swindling Films. And yeah, if you have any problems with what I said, you're wrong. I'm ready in the comments. And
He's not in the comments.
Yeah.
I am. Thanks for that.
That's something Alexia would say, y'all.
Oops.
If you don't like what I say, you're wrong.
You're wrong. I only spit facts on this podcast. If you've heard me before, you know it's true.
Bars.
All
right, y'all.
Drake should be behind bars.
Damn, I'm crazy.
Done.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the next one. Until then, peace.
Bye.
Drake, A minor.